topic for today is energy graphs, a graphical way of dealing with some of what we've been doing. When all forces are conservative, an informative and shorthand way to understand the dynamics of a system can be found by making a so-called energy graph, where the horizontal axis is position and the vertical axis is energy. In that case, since the mechanical energy is conserved, it would show up as a horizontal line. How do we know that it's conserved? Because all forces are conservative. So, sort of duh, but there you go. We can plot the potential energy and infer the kinetic energy as the difference between those two. This is an arbitrary potential energy graph. It doesn't come from anywhere per se, but there's some force that came up with it. It's the kind of thing you see in what are called so-called two-level systems, like laser pumping systems. But in this case, or maybe like a quartic spring. At some moment, the total mechanical energy is measured, and then it never changes because it's conservative, so we mark it as the purple horizontal line. Since E equals K plus U, it must of course be true that K equals E minus U. That is, the kinetic energy will be the gap between the energy line and the potential energy graph. You can see the kinetic energy is higher at the red location than at the blue one, because E minus U is a bigger number here than E minus U is there. Most significantly, the kinetic energy will be 0 where the curve intersects the line. So at this spot and at this spot, because intersection is equality, and if we have E equals U, then E minus U is 0. Such a place is called a classical turning point. We'll talk about why classical in a little bit. The system will oscillate between those turning points. The turning points depend on the shape of the potential energy and on the available total energy. Since kinetic energy is always greater than or equal to 0, it's impossible for it to be otherwise, the system cannot be found in the shaded region, which is dramatically called the forbidden zone, like something out of Star Trek. In the case shown, the system is stuck between turning points, moving either between here and here, or between here or here. Notice that the equilibrium points depend only on the shape of U, but that, I'm a little early on equilibrium points, we'll come back to that. But that the turning points and therefore the forbidden zone depends on the shape of U and the particular energy you're at. Why is it called a classical turning zone? Well, quantum mechanics gets a little weird, as always, and we find that the particle isn't really a particle, not really this. It's really sort of a wave function, more like, this. And mathematically, it's impossible for that wave function to go away, so that it can extend into both regions. We have something like a wave function that does this, but then it exponentially decays, and there's a tiny bit of the wave function over here. And so every once in a while, a particle that's bouncing back and forth might suddenly be found on this side and bounce back and forth over here, and then a little bit later maybe be found on this side, and we'll switch between the two regions at random every once in a while. Still never found inside here. Still never exists in an observational way, an observable way, inside the forbidden zone, but able to cross it back and forth. This gets the fancy name quantum tunneling. The AP committee does not care that you know about quantum tunneling and will not ask you about it, but I think it's interesting to know that this method ends up surviving into the quantum era, but with weird modification. All right, consider this energy graph. The potential energy U is shown in green. The current energy state of the system, E sub 0, is shown in purple. At what value of x is the object traveling fastest? And of course, what we want in this case, take a moment to think about it. We want the maximum kinetic energy, which means largest gap, which we can see by I is this. And so the value of x is something like, it looks like maybe point, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so maybe 0.9. Maybe not quite 1, but close to 1. Same setup, and we want to know what is the greatest value of x for which the object is at rest. And of course, at rest means kinetic energy equals 0, which means E equals U, which means intersection. So we look at the intersections. They occur here, our two turning points. And the greater value is, of course, here, where x is about, well, maybe 9.9 or something like that.